Hello and welcome all to the 15th part of the series on self-exploration, joining the dots, contemplating, comprehending and sharing it with you all raw. All that sounds great is the grace of all those who have blessed me, and all that sounds not so great is my limitation. So let's get going. This part is a sequel of the earlier part in which we are looking at my interpretation of a Gujarati song. So I would recommend you to first listen to that part if you've landed on this directly. You will find the link for it in the description box below. We are talking about a Gujarati song sung for Ram, Mhara Ram. Mhara Ram, તમે સીતાજીને તોલે ન આવો, the poet says. I did not agree. With all respect and all acknowledgement for the emotion of the poet, what came from within was completely 180 degrees apart. Tears rolled down as I listened to the song every time. The notes are melodious and said with utmost urge, no doubt. Whoever wrote it is calling Ram as Mhara Ram with so much love, still feels Sitaji was a bit superior to him. It is a feeling of a devotee, like that of a child who, when sees his mother getting troubled due to his father, retaliates, "Dad, you're not doing good to my mom." It's that emotion, and I really acknowledge it. But when I entered the sentiment of Ram and Sita, this was the response that came. These days, we talk so often about words like twin flames, one soul in two bodies. And who could be more ideal twin flames for us than our eternal couples, Krishna Ram Sita? Sitaji walked into the forest with Ram, fought with Ravan before Ram, and even gave Agni Pariksha. Still, Ram abandoned her for the sake of a washerman. Looks like an utter injustice on Sita. Indeed, Sita deserved better, and she overtook Ram in virtues. My heart said, "No, my dear, no, it is not like that. It is not like that." Sita followed Ram in the exile by her choice. Ram was trying to persuade her to stay back because he loved her and he cared for her comfort. But she said, "Tvaya sah vanamapi swargaha." With you around, even the forests are like heavens for me. And without you, even if I stay in this palace surrounded by comforts, it will be like an exile for me. Is this not something very familiar for all those who love each other? They are literally in heaven on cloud 9 with their beloved around. Peripheries hardly matter. So it was her love that she followed Ram. And for Ram, How difficult it must have been to take care of this beautiful, delicate lass in the harsh life of the forest. It was his love that made him do all that for her with a great pleasure, giving her all the possible comforts, making her feel cozy in those forests. They both loved each other, and where is the question of trouble when love overwhelms? They were one soul in two bodies, so how can a soul trouble itself? They both were very happy. In the cages of Ravan, surrounded by demons, it looked like Sita was all alone. Ask her, enter into her entity and ask her, and she would say, I was never alone. I had with me the love and strength of my beloved, my Ram. It was only his love that she could hold herself so strongly. And if Ravan could not dare to even touch her in absence of any visible protection, it was due to the aura of Ram's love and existence all around her, very strongly, very densely throughout. Her belief was firm that her Ram will come to rescue her. She has to hold herself just for a while. That is the charisma of love. Love makes a person very strong. It gives us all the strength in the universe to fight all the odds, whenever, whatever. This side, Ram, on parting with Sita in body, he lost all his poise and sanity. Lord Ram, incarnated form of Lord Vishnu, was crying like a commonest commoner, wandering in jungles, embracing trees, asking them about her, calling out on Sita, weeping. Very unusual. How can a god do that? It was his deep integrity with her. And that integrity which he had for her was her strength in the captivity of Ravan. He rather passed all his courage and poise to her and borrowed her tears. Her tears travelled to him and his courage travelled to her. So she was very strong and he was exemplifying tears and pain and agony. They both were one piece, inseparable from each other. It was their union which had tears of parting and the strength of being together at the same time. Eventually, Ravana was defeated by Ram and Sita was taken back. Her sanity was proved by Agni Pariksha, once again an act done by Ram just to prove to the society. But back in Ayodhya, people started talking and doubting the integrity and purity and sanity of Sita in Ravan's captivity. And Ram abandoned her. Why? He had a doubt. He didn't love her. Should we buy this? Should we buy this? The prime purpose of Ram's life, of Ram's incarnation, avatar, was to finish Ravan and to set an example of a rule that will be followed by people for ages to come. Even today we call it the most ideal dynasty, the Ram Rajya. That was the prime purpose of him coming down on the earth. And Sita was his better half, his part, not separate from her, not separate from him. So it was the purpose of their life together. And this was the role given to her to make it manifest, that purpose which was for both of them. Also, had she not gone with Ram in the exile, Ravan would have never visited their hut, never would have taken her in captivity, and Ram would have never landed up finishing him. So the purpose of his life would have stayed incomplete. Had Ram not abandoned her, an example of ideal king, a king for whom his progeny is more important than his personal priorities, that example would have never set up. An ideal king would take the pains on himself and keep the progeny satisfied like his children, like a father who would never want his children to be in agony. Instead, he prefers to take all the burdens, all the pressures, all the negativities. Same did Ram, for whom his progeny was like his child. Ram and Sita were both one, the parents of the progeny. And if he did something to her, he did it to himself. It was as good as he did it to himself. We all know that after he abandoned Sita, never again he enjoyed the privileges of being the king. He lived in his palace like a hermit. He just served his people. They both were one, but the pains of Sita were seen and those of Ram were covered. But the pains of Ram were as intense as her, or probably more. Because in love, the one who endures is peaceful than the one who makes the other endure. We always say, give all calamities on me, put it on me, I will endure it, but my beloved be safe. Like one Hindi song says, अगर मुझसे मोहब्बत है तो मुझे सब अपने गम दे दो, इन आँखों का हर एक आंसू मुझे मेरे सनम दे दो, अगर मुझसे मोहब्बत है. So the pains of Ram were all the more higher because he couldn't even show them. They wouldn't have been acknowledged. All those feminists would always put him down. Who would know what was burning within him? On a very different note, if the world called Sita a tinge superior to Ram, like the poet, if the world agrees that yes, whatever, but Sita was little better to Ram if weighed as a person, as a personality, who would be the most happy? Ram himself. It is the true love that happily puts oneself on the lower side. We love to be called lower than our beloved and see him raising high. We love to see the glory of our beloved overtaking our own glory. So to raise the glory of Sita, the Shakti, Ram, the Shiv, will happily take a back seat. If the devotee is saying, Mhara Ram, tame Sita ji ne tole na aavo, you are not parallel to my Sita ji, tongue in cheek, Ram also must be equally enjoying it, the glory of beloved. And when Sita would hear this song, she would cuddle the poet and say, no, my dear child, you have not understood Ram. All my glory, all my virtues, all what is seen. Rather, my existence, my breath is Ram. I can never be superior to him. I am his shadow. If he is not there, I am not there. He is my love. I dissolve with him, and I would never be pleased to hear him be called lower to me. My whole pride is he being called the superior most always. So if you really wish to please me, put him first and put me second. That is my real pleasure. Tears roll down every time I listen to this song in the love of Ram and in the love of Sita for Ram. Stay tuned for some more explorations. Thank you for joining in.